All right, let's dive in. We're about to pull back the curtain on the one hidden rule that separates those amazing, intuitive products from the ones that make you want to pull your hair out. And trust me, once you see it, you're going to start noticing it everywhere.
So, let's be real for a second. We've all been there, right? You download a new app and it's just effortless. It's like it's reading your mind. Then you try another one and it feels like a total chore. You just want to give up. What's the secret? What's that magic ingredient?
Well, the answer comes down to something called Tesler's law. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It says that for any task, whether it's ordering a pizza or filing your taxes, there's a certain amount of complexity that's just baked in. You can't get rid of it. You can't just make it disappear. It has to go somewhere.
And this right here, this is the heart of it all. This is the big choice that every designer has to make. That complexity, that unavoidable, tricky part of any task, someone has to deal with it. The only question is who. Is the system, the product itself, going to handle it? Or are you, the user, going to be stuck with it?
This slide shows you exactly what happens based on that choice. When a designer is smart about it and makes the system do the heavy lifting, your experience is smooth, it's clear, it's effortless. But when they don't, all that complexity just spills out onto you. And that's when you feel confused, you get frustrated, and a lot of times you just give up and walk away.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do this? Let's get practical. Let's open up the toolkit and see how great design teams put this law to work.
It really boils down to a three-step game plan. First, you got to face the beast, identify that inherent complexity and figure out how to manage it. Second, you get clever and find ways to shift that burden onto the system. And finally, whatever's left, you make it as simple and clean for the user as humanly possible.
So let's look at a real-world example of managing complexity. Filing taxes is, notoriously complex. So H&R Block doesn't pretend it's not. Instead, they prepare you for it. They give you this simple checklist of all the documents you're going to need before you even start. That way, they prevent that super frustrating moment later on when you realize you're missing something and have to go dig through your files. It's brilliant.
Here's another great strategy. Just break it down. Staring at a giant tax form is completely overwhelming, right? So what does TurboTax do? It takes that same massive form and splits it into tiny, bite-sized questions. Suddenly, you're not filling out a scary government document, you're just answering one simple question at a time. It makes a really daunting task feel totally manageable.
Now for my favorite part, shifting the load. This is where the system really starts working for you. Think about all those little things, like when a website autofills your shipping address because it already knows it, or when an app has smart defaults, where the most common choice is already picked for you. Each one of those little things takes a bit of work off your brain and hands it over to the system.
We can also shift the load by giving you help at the perfect moment. Figma is an absolute master of this. Instead of throwing a huge, boring tutorial at you when you first open the app, it gives you these little tool tips exactly when you need them. So, like when you're choosing colors, a little tip might pop up to tell you about the contrast checker. It's learning on the fly, and it feels so natural.
And really, the ultimate goal here is to hide all the messy wires. Think about the most powerful software you use. Underneath that simple, clean screen, the system is doing mind-boggling work. Millions of calculations, rendering crazy graphics, syncing with collaborators in real time. But all of that complexity is completely hidden from you, so you can just stay in your creative flow. It's magic.
But, and this is a really important but, this isn't about just blindly making everything simple. Applying Tesler's law is a delicate balancing act, and if you're not careful, you can fall into some common traps.
First off, you've got to be careful not to oversimplify. If you automate too much, users can feel like they're losing control, or they might even start to mistrust the product. Second, you have to remember that shifting complexity has a cost. It might take more engineering time or even slow the app down. The whole team needs to be on board with those trade-offs. And probably the most important thing, you have to test with real people. What seems simple to you as the designer might be totally confusing to someone using it for the first time.
So let's bring this all home. The main takeaway from Tesler's law isn't about eliminating complexity, because you can't. It's about being intentional. It's about looking at that complexity head-on and making a conscious, thoughtful choice about who is going to do the work, the system or the user.
So I'll leave you with a little challenge. The next time you're using an app that just feels amazing, that feels effortless, pause for a second. Try to peek behind the curtain and ask yourself, what really hard work is this app doing for me right now? Where did its designers choose to hide all the wires?